All right, my five top directors. I don't know why I'm doing my hand like that. My five top directors. Number five, Spike Lee. Spike Lee to me, I think hits cultural things in such an entertaining way, but yet educational. My favorite Spike Lee movie is actually Bamboozle. That's kind of one of his lesser known ones, but in 2000 he made a movie called Bamboozle with Tommy Davidson and Keon, the Wayans, Damon Wayans was in there. I think Jada Pick was in that movie too, as the assistant. It's a phenomenal movie. It's a very cultural, trending movie, but it's one of my favorite Spike Lee movies. But Spike Lee, of course, made Malcolm X and so many different things. But Bamboozle is still one of my favorite movies to watch. It's a hard to find movie, so you are able to find it. Yeah, you will gotta watch it. But Spike Lee, hands down. Mo Better Blues. I mean, you can go down the list of Spike Lee films. Do the Right Thing. You know, of course, it's an iconic movie. But Spike Lee, I love his angles. The Oner is what he's known for. You're always going to see that Oner in any Spike Lee film. But Spike Lee does his thing. He's an independent director. He still raises funds for his movies. So shout out to Spike Lee for that, man. Holding down the independent scene and being like an OG to us. Number two is another. Number two is another director that I'm really fond of, and that's Quentin Tarantino. All right, I am a humongous Quentin Tarantino fan. My first film I ever seen Quentin Tarantino was Reservoir Dogs. I seen it in high school. My teacher in media school popped it in. She's like, "You gotta watch this," and so we watched Reservoir Dogs, and I was hooked on his style. In his earlier days, he did non-linear editing, so it was kind of like the middle would be the beginning, and the beginning would be the middle, and that's called non-linear editing. And it was somehow the story would come together. Now that's not an easy thing to shoot, edit, and to do, and still make it cohesive. But Tarantino was able to do it. And so you could tell Tarantino. He also brings out so many great performances of his actors. He does not get heralded enough of how great of a director he is. He can get mileage out of people. He can get mileage out of people, whether they're a star or not a star. Tarantino can get some mileage out of you. If you have an inkling of talent, he's gonna get it out of you. And he puts himself in the movies, but he always puts himself in something that is not and never overshadowing the stars, but it's a great bridge. You know what I'm saying? He's a great bridge character, and he knows what he's doing in those scenes. He knows what to convey in those scenes. And so I give Tarantino a shout out. Pulp Fiction is probably my favorite one. Pulp and Django are really neck and neck. I love Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I needed a review on that. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is one of my favorite ones too. A great movie. Number three is David Finch. David Finch is the master of the swerve, of the master of the swerve in storytelling. His directing style is beautiful. Now Finch is known for being crazy when he'll film the same scene 100 times, but you can see the benefit of David Finch. Gone Girl is my favorite movie from David Finch. That and Seven are top tier. The one of the things about David Finch that I give him so much credit for in Gone Girl, that's probably one of the best words I've ever seen in my life. You're thinking that this husband is a murderer, and turns out the victim is really the villain, and the villain is really the victim. And it switches, and the movie tone completely turns around. And you don't see it because the way they market it, it looked like Ben Affleck character was the villain the whole time. And when they do that switch, or you think maybe Patrick Neal, what's his name? What's Doogie Howser guy? I'm messing his name up, Doogie Howser. You think that maybe he's the guy, and the misdirect, you never think it's her. Especially if you're coming in this movie dry, don't know nothing about it, you really don't think it's her until the flip. And so that was a great flip. Another one of my favorite directors. I'm trying to think. Oh, Clint Eastwood. Clint Eastwood, hands down. People don't give Clint Eastwood the credit they deserves. $1 Million Baby, The Mule. Clint Eastwood can direct. All right, Clint Eastwood can direct, and he's been a solid director for over 20 years. And he brings some Academy Award winning heavy stuff. But Clint has a great eye. Clint has a great mind for the business. And And so definitely hands down, Clint Eastwood is another top director of mine. Last but not least, Tim Story. I don't think Tim Story gets the praise that he deserves. He is definitely the one that picked the torch up from Robert Townsend. And I don't think that even Robert Townsend get the disrespect. But Tim Story and Robert Townsend are two phenomenal directors. Shout out to Brian Singleton as well. But these guys, Tim Story really don't get he don't get the love. People know Brian Singleton, people know Robert Townsend, but a lot of people don't give Tim Story. Tim Story directed Fantastic Four, Barbershop. He's directed that new movie with Eddie Murphy, The Pickup, Ride Alone 1 and 2. Tim Story has a really a great resume, and he's quiet under the radar, but he's one of the best African American filmmakers of the last 20 years, and he's been consistent with that as well. So I definitely want to shout Tim Story out, because I don't feel like he gets the love he deserves. But those are some of my favorite directors in the game today. What's your favorite director? Put it in the comments. Let me know.